Currently, the market sentiment has changed rapidly and it is slowly looking more positive. We are seeing, in part, that the altcoins are performing again. We also see, in part, that Ethereum is outperforming the altcoins, and accordingly, we need to discuss a few things here. We will briefly talk about this general altcoin market sentiment, what has changed, and when is the altcoin season coming? Because in this altcoin season, there is a chance to make multi-millions. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for again for 4 years. This opportunity is gigantic, and of course, you must not miss it. In such a market sentiment, a lot of money is printed. Accordingly, we need to make this video. On the one hand, we also simply see that we have been in this fear for a very long time now, and at some point, that has to end, of course. We have been in fear for so long that people are slowly not even talking about it anymore. The open interest is declining and so on. We all thought that the first quarter of this year would be really good. We had Trump as president, a mega rally, ETF inflows, Michael Saylor. Everything looked so damn positive. Everyone expected the first quarter to be really bullish. And then it turned out exactly the opposite of what everyone expected. And at this point, one simply has to say, in every bull run, we had such painful phases where no one believed in the altcoins, this or that crypto market anymore. Even in 2021, when everyone said there would be no more altcoins. What we have seen here in the last few months is part of the market. They are playing extremely with emotions here. This correction that we have seen now was about 30%. But we also saw that here before the mega Trump rally. We had such corrections in the last cycle as well. Here even more, 33%, or also in the 2017 cycle. You just don't see it because it has become so small by now. But here a bull run correction of almost 40%. That is in a bull run, typical or rather normal in the crypto market. Here, 30% corrections are part of it, simply part of a healthy market structure. The market needs to be cleaned up, they are playing with emotions. And of course, my mood in the last few weeks wasn't so great either, that's clear. However, I continue to make videos, showing you each time anew. Hey, in the background, things are happening. Whether we correct or not, that's part of it. And slowly, you can see that I wasn't wrong at all, because we are rising again. After these 30%, the sentiment already looks significantly better. The bears are weakened, the bears have less and less chance to push the market down. And slowly, the sentiment is changing, and we are transitioning back to a bullish sentiment. And you just have to say, a mega candle of $5,000, $6,000 plus in altcoins is already enough to completely switch this market sentiment. And then everyone is bullish and optimistic again. It's like this every time. After this massive rise, people have raised their targets. They were no longer talking about a 10x. No, they were talking about a 20, 30, 40x. Further bullish forecasts were thrown out here. More money was invested here. Then we stagnated for months, corrected over 30%. Altcoins completely down. People were just hoping that we would break even and thought, then we'll sell. Then they quickly got out because the sentiment was just really terrible. People were just fed up. And what comes next? The big rise. And even if people break even, they won't sell. And history just repeats itself every time. It's the same every time. You're playing completely with emotions here. And I understand that too because I know exactly that a large loss rate is extremely difficult to recover. It simply doesn't correspond at all to recover such a loss rate. And accordingly, you can just act extremely well with the emotions of investors here. But we've had such down phases in every cycle. Even here in the bull run of 2021, if we look at it before we saw this altcoin season, the sentiment also looked really, really bad for altcoins. So in December 2020, here the altcoins had no strength at all, nothing. And then we had a massive rally. After that, following this massive altcoin season, in 2021, we fell sharply again here. And by the end of the year, we have really built ourselves up strongly here again. Here the altcoins also performed really, really well again. And that's why one simply has to say, what we have seen here, this sentiment, it was part of it. It was like this every time in the past. Here the emotions of the investors are simply being played with. But the question now, of course, is what has changed that the sentiment becomes so positive all of a sudden? Again, because, I mean, in terms of price, we haven't, skyrocketed. We had a small rise here, yes, in the last few days. But that's not, a huge amount. What has significantly changed here, however, is the macro situation in the world and especially in the USA. We are seeing more fresh capital. That is boosting our markets. That is definitely very, very good. Above all, this is the most important thing for the altcoins. Here you can see the global dignity. Down here is the Fed balance sheet. And here is the total 3 indicator. And every altcoin season was marked here. And please take a look at it. We only had one altcoin season here, when we saw a monetary expansion and a loose monetary policy in the USA. That is thus the most important thing for the crypto market, but especially for the altcoins. Altcoins are high-risk assets, and people do not invest in high-risk assets if there is no fresh capital coming into the markets. Now, currently, everyone is already talking about altcoin season again, just because the M2 money supply is rising. And I think that is still exaggerated. We will not see an altcoin season in the next few weeks, because the M2 money supply is important, yes, but even more important is the US M2 money supply. That will ultimately initiate the altcoin season. That is the most important money we need here. And we do not yet see this money in the markets. But even here, the Fed has already announced that they will slowly start printing money again. So, the sentiment will also slowly turn for the better in the coming months. What is also important in this regard is that the US dollar continues to lose strength, because we will eventually enter this risky zone where investors are significantly more risk tolerant. The weaker the dollar, the more capital can remain here for our assets. But now let's still address the question, when will the altcoin season come? And honestly, I expect this market sentiment in the coming months. This is a forecast, which also makes me vulnerable. I know, yet I am making this forecast. I think April, May will be good months. This is now related to altcoins. Then in the summer, we will stagnate a bit, correct a bit. And at the end of the year, from August to November, it will become really interesting again. We will see an altcoin season here and witness this mega rally. That is my forecast. For the next few months, it's hard to estimate when we will have an altcoin season. In terms of time and data, it's naturally difficult, but there are things that are extremely important here. For one, we would of course need Ethereum to outperform the altcoins. But by now everyone knows that what is much more important is that we reach the overheated area with altcoins. We need to be significantly overbought with altcoins here. We need to attract a lot of people through this, and then we need to enter this overheated area. And this overheated area is currently at $150,000 per altcoin. You have to imagine that. We first need to surpass this level here, and only then will the altcoin season be initiated. At least that's how it was in the past. Only when we discussed the purple trend line with the P-cycle top indicator did we initiate the altcoin season. This only ever happens when altcoins suddenly accelerate completely. This then naturally attracts retail investors into the market, and these retail investors in turn push the altcoins. Then suddenly we see Ethereum making really big price jumps. Then people want to front run, quickly get into the altcoins, and then everything escalates here. We see a massive shift, we see the drop in altcoin dominance, and everything escalates here. I also expect this with the altcoins, or generally, in this entire crypto market, a huge amount of money will flow in by the end of the year. I even think we will reach between $7 and $9 trillion by the end of this cycle. And I say it as it is. During this time, the altcoins will skyrocket. What you have seen now with the altcoins will be nothing in comparison. The altcoins can really go crazy during this time, skyrocket, and during this time a lot of money will be made. And I will of course accompany you through this time. I hope you will accompany me too. And that's why there's not much more to say. I am very optimistic about this year. As I said, I have given my time forecast. The gates are slowly opening. It's getting better and better, but we won't be looking at altcoins in 2 weeks. That actually takes a little longer. But I told you what is important for that. But as I said, everything is slowly turning for the better. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends. Bye.